Welcome to a guide to the new chicken system on Seasons 19 on console with me, MrSealyp. Right then, ladies and gents, let's have a look at this chicken situation with Seasons on, shall we? Obviously I've got Seasons up in the top right hand corner. First thing I'm going to look at, and you don't really have to, if we go into the menu here for economy and we scroll right the way down till we get to our chickens, we've got 3 breeds and then we've got the rooster. So we've got Cornish cross, white leghorn, Rhode Island red and rooster. If you look as I go up and down on those, the prices aren't moving for any of those. It stays as they are for each breed, but the spike would be typically where I am now, in late spring, early summer is when they cost the most to buy. But that said, they don't cost a lot anyway to buy. But it's worth having a look there because it depends whereabouts you are in the year for what they're worth and that kind of thing. So I've put out 5 chicken runs. Now these are the standard in-game ones. You can use any of the different chicken runs. It really doesn't matter. If you're on PC, I know if you're running the animal extension mod, you can actually have water as well for your chickens. But on console, there's no water. It's still just feed. You don't have to worry. So let's have a quick look then. Well, I'm going to stop saying quick look. That's just a force of habit. I'm sorry. But here are our breeds. So at the top we've got white leghorn. They're all female. And they start at 0.4 years old when you buy them, so part the way into a year. These are your bird of choice for egg laying. They will do eggs. End of. You can get them to reproduce. We're going to look at that in a little while. So those are your egg layers. Now it does say they require less feed than any other breed, so that's one thing to bear in mind. They'll produce a lot of eggs, they require less feed. So if it's eggs you want to go for, they're probably the breed to go for. Cornish cross, that's your meat breed, and that's one of the big changes now with FS19, with Seasons 19, sorry, is that we don't just have chickens that all reproduce and chickens that produce eggs. We've now got a meat breed. These are all male. They will not produce eggs. So if you're looking for eggs, you don't want these. But these are a meat breed. They are dirt cheap to buy. At the moment, only €1 at the moment, but only 1 to buy. And the whole point is you fatten them up, and before they die, because the animals can die on seasons, you sell them off to make a profit. Now, I'm only going to run each of these pens with about 20 in. If you're in a pen when you can run 500 chickens, you can make a big profit on doing meat birds. It doesn't seem like a lot, but we'll have a look at that in a little while. For 20 birds, it's not going to be a huge amount. Then we've got our Rhode Island red. These are females as well. Now, these are a hybrid breed, and they will do eggs and meat. So they will fatten up, and they will produce eggs as well. So if you wanted a kind of mix of both, you could go with the Rhode Island red. You're going to get eggs, and then you can still sell them off for meat because they will fatten up a little bit. So it depends which route you want to go down. And then your roosters. Now, with all of these, with the white leghorn and the Rhode Island red, to produce eggs, you just put the chickens in. You don't have to have a rooster at all. They will produce eggs, no problem. If you want to reproduce, so if you want to have your chicken flock increase in size, you need roosters, and we're going to do we're going to do 2 pens with roosters in as well. Realismus Modding suggests a 1:8 ratio, so for every 8 hens you need 1 rooster. That's what they suggest in their notes, I think. So generally speaking, in the chicken world, if you want to call it that, if you just have hens, it's a brood of chickens. As soon as you put a rooster in there and they're becoming productive, it's then often referred to as a flock. So a flock of chickens with a rooster, without, they're a brood of hens because they're brooding. So what we're going to do in this first one, we are going to put 20 white leghorns in. So this will just be egg production. So that should be 20, I think. Confirm. So what we can do now, and this is the other thing that's different. If I go into my main menu now, if I scroll across at the top, with Seasons on, there's no animals menu up here anymore. So in your main menu settings, there's no animals. To get to your animal menu, I have to go L1 and options, which opens up the Seasons menu, and we've got one here for animals. and it's got all the different ones here. So my chicken coop I've just put them into, and I've got 5 chicken coops here. The one I've just put them into says 20, white leghorn, 4.7 pounds. If you look across, that's the buying weight. Age 0.4 years. Now this says mature, so we're buying these already as hens, so they're going to be producing eggs, no problem. Now it says next animal in, not fertile. And if I scroll down, if I go across, I can either on the left hand side and go up and down my coops, or if I go with my left stick push across, I can then go down each animal. And if you notice, they're numbered. Why it's saying 105 to 117, I don't know. That's really weird, because I don't have 100 and... that should be saying 1. That should go 1 up to 20. So it actually gives you the number of the chicken. White leghorn 105, so that's whichever number chicken. So you can keep an eye on the ones you have when you got them. Now those say mature. Now what I have found in testing is that with the egg laying birds, they will stay mature, and I haven't had any problems yet with any of them dying off. I think with the egg laying birds they will only die if they run out of feed. That's different for the Cornish cross, and we're going to have a look at that in a little while. So at the moment they're saying not fertile, so they are not going to be producing young. All they're going to do is produce eggs. So that's our first one done. We've got our white leghorns in there. They're just going to be egg production. So second coop. This one I'm going to put the Cornish cross. I'm just going to do it in the order they are here on the list, because otherwise it's going to get confusing. So my next one's going to be the Cornish cross, and these are the male ones, and these are your meat birds. I'm going to put 20 in, and what we're going to do is we're going to fatten them up for meat. So now it's very odd. I've just clicked on 20 birds, and it does say on the left hand side Cornish cross €1, €1, dollar, pound, whatever. I've put in 20, yet it says 24. Something else worth noting, where it says fee, the fee with seasons on for chickens, there is no transport cost anymore. The transport cost has been removed because Realismus said there's no way for you to actually transport the chickens yourself. You have to have them delivered, so why should you have to pay a delivery fee? That's not your fault, because if you had the option to go and collect them yourself, then that's your choice to do that. But if you're not given a choice, why should you have to pay? So there's no fee. So I'm puzzled as to why that says 24. I'm pretty sure I didn't click on 24 birds, so it just could be a slight discrepancy. So if I click on confirm, there we go, I've got my Cornish cross. They're my meat birds. I'm not going to get any eggs from them, I'm just going to get meat from them. So what we'll do now is go in and check the menu again. Yeah, it definitely says 20. Now if we go across and have a look this time, it gives the number of the bird, 0.4 pounds, but under age it doesn't say mature. Under age this says newborn. They are chicks for all intents and purposes. I know in the actual pen they look like fully grown birds. They say newborn. These will go through 3 stages: newborn, young, and then mature. When they're mature, you've got to find that balance between when to sell them and when they can die. This breed can die if they get too old. When I did testing, I went through 3-day cycles. Now at the moment I'm running 3-day seasons. This will all depend on how many day seasons you are running. So that's going to be something you have to really keep an eye on. But I've got mine on 3-day seasons. So what you've got to think is, with a 3-day season, each day is a month, theoretically. I got through 3 months, and on the 3rd month, when I went through the night, in the morning it came up and said animals died. When I came in, the only animals that had died out of all 5 coops that I tested were the Cornish cross. They'd all reached maturity and then gone beyond it, and they'd all died. So you need to be very, very careful with your Cornish cross and keep an eye on them. So when they're at their kind of fattest, heaviest, ready to sell at mature, you need to make a choice to sell them rather than try and eke them out a little bit longer, because you could potentially lose the lot. And if you've got 500 odd chickens, that's a lot to lose out on. So we're going to keep an eye on those as we go. That's our Cornish cross. So next up we're going to do the Rhode Island Reds, and these are the hybrids. Again, we're going to just have these for egg laying. I say egg laying, we're going to do... well, they do produce egg and meat. I know I did say that already. So the Rhode Island Reds, now these are a little bit heavier. They start off at £5.9 when you buy them. Still only 0.4 years old, so they're not chicks. 1, 2, Okay, and like I say, price-wise, it's not expensive. They're not, you know, to do chickens isn't too bad. Confirm that. If we go into our menu again, we go across to our Cornish cross. 0. Hang on a minute. Wrong coop. Why has it done the coops? That's weird. I'm on my third coop and it's gone and put them at the top there. That's going to cause me problems later on. Okay, well, never mind. Right, so these are my Rhode Island Reds, £5.9. Now this says young on these. So as opposed to my egg layers, my white leghorns that all said mature, these are saying young. These are young because these are hybrids and because you can get meat production out of them as well as eggs. So these will go from young to mature, and if you wanted to sell them off, you can. I've also found with these, I didn't have any die when they reached mature for however many seasons I went through. But again, keep an eye on it, you'll need to. These will also say not fertile, because I've got no rooster in with these, so these will produce eggs, they will fatten up, but they will not produce young. So, that's my Rhode Island Reds. Now it does also say, something I meant to mention on the other two, it says estimated food required, 2,716 litres per year. Now I don't know if that's per bird, quite possibly, but if I scroll down here and look at my coop with my Cornish cross in, now because the Cornish cross are a meat breed and they grow very rapidly, it does say they require more food. Estimated food required 5,248 litres per year. If I go down to my white leghorns, and it says 1,785. So again, your feed will change, but that is also spread across the year. So dependent upon how many day seasons you are running, it will balance itself out across the year. You're not going to be penalised and have to put way more feed in if you're running a 24-day season as opposed to a 3-day season. It balances out across the entire year. You don't have to worry. So, moving on. So these two coops now are going to have my female birds but with roosters in, so we should get eggs and we should get young. So the white leghorns, we're going to go with 20 again. So with 20 birds at a 1:8 ratio, I need 3 roosters to go in here, because it'll be 8, 16, 24. I've got 20 birds, so we're going to go 1, 2, 3 roosters as well, and confirm. So 20 birds, 3 roosters, something you're going to have to be very, very aware of. With the roosters in there, these birds will now reproduce, so you will get more chickens in there. As the chickens increase, you're going to increase the amount of roosters you need. Otherwise they won't become fertile and you won't get more newborns. You will get some, but not as many. So if you just kind of forget and you keep letting them produce and you end up with 90 chickens in here, if you haven't increased the amount of roosters, you'll only have a certain amount of them reproducing, whereas you can have all of them reproducing. So you need to just keep an eye on as that increases. So we'll open up the menu here. We'll get our Rhode Island Reds that all say young. Now they're also not fertile at the moment. Hang on, no, wrong coop. That's the coop I want. Sorry. So I mean, the coops are drive me mad. We should have at the top. There we go. So our roosters are in here with our white leghorns. Our chickens are all saying not mature at the moment, but as we start to move through the day and into the next day, which technically with 3-day seasons will be a month, they will then come up saying fertile, next animal in. Now the thing with this is not all of the birds will all be reproducing at the same time. Some will be laying eggs, some will be reproducing, and then it will shift around. So at some point you are always going to have birds producing eggs. You will have some birds producing new chicks. We'll have a look at what that looks like in a minute, which brings me on to the last one. We're going to put the Rhode Island Reds in, also with 3 roosters, and we're just going to have a look and see how they all change as we move through time. So I'm going to put these in, Rhode Island Reds, 20 of those and 3 roosters, and then we're going to see how we get on. Oh, I need to put feed in too, don't I? Of course I do. So there you go, there's my Rhode Island Reds, 3 roosters at the top and my chickens all down the bottom. They again are now, the roosters are mature, but the Rhode Island Reds, same as the original ones I put in, the same young because they will also fatten up. Right, that's my 5 coops, 3 of them with 20 chickens in, 2 of them with 23 in, 20 chickens or hens, and 3 roosters in each. So what I'm going to do is put feed in now. I'm going to move through the day and we'll see how we get on. All I've done is pre-prepared. I've just got a trailer with a load of wheat in it. Can be wheat or barley, doesn't really matter. What I have found as well as going through the seasons, they don't leave a lot of mess. If any, I found the ones that had the roosters in made more mess than the ones that didn't, which is odd, but so what I'm going to do is fill up each one. Doesn't require a lot. Like I say, I've only got 20 of each. Obviously, the more chickens you've got, the more feed they're going to require, the more eggs they will lay, you know, the more mess they will make. But this is just to test out the system. So don't be expecting loads and loads of egg boxes. This will be their egg production across an entire year, and because I've only got 20 in each, it's not going to be massive amounts of egg production, but they are going to produce. So I'll see you in a minute. Right then, it's early summer. I've gone through one day because I'm running 3-day cycles. So in essence, that's a month that has gone by. We have got an egg box there. We are at the first chicken coop. This was my white leghorns specifically for eggs. So what I'm going to do is open up our menu. That's this coop here. So this is our white leghorns. Now when you bought these, or when I bought these, they were £4.7. If I come across, each of those now says 4.9, so they have put on a bit of weight. I've still got 20 in there. Remember, there's no roosters, this is just the chickens. They are producing eggs. The bottom there, it does say production eggs 39 litres. They haven't used a huge amount of feed, which isn't too bad at all. Each of these pens took 1,000 litres. It kind of averages it out and then it goes from there. So obviously the more you have, it'll probably take more than that, unless it's 1,000. No matter what you have in there, it just goes down quicker, regardless. So that's my white leghorns. My second coop, that had my Cornish cross. Now these were my meat birds. My meat birds, if you remember, we bought these at £0.4. These say 0.1 years now, young, £5.7. They've gone from £0.4 to £5.7. So I've got to keep an eye on that, because from newborn to young, the next step will be mature, and their weight's going to go up again. That's a crazy amount to have gone up, 0.4 to 5.7. These are a fast growing bird, but weirdly, look at their wheat and barley. Now in the actual buy screen, when you buy these chickens, it says that the Cornish cross are a fast growing breed and they require a lot of feed. They've actually used less feed than my white leghorns. They're supposed to use more, so I'm puzzled by that. I'm not bothered by it, but I'm slightly puzzled by it. The next coop was our Rhode Island Reds. Again, these were just for eggs. Now these have gone up as well. When we bought these were £5.9 in weight. They're now 6.7. These produce eggs as well, so we've got 32 litres of eggs. Now compared to our white leghorns, which are on 39 litres, these are on 32 litres. It's not a huge difference. Like I say, I've only got 20 birds. Potentially with more birds you're going to have a bigger gap between the production, but these are gaining weight much faster and they're producing eggs. So these are the hybrid birds. Now interestingly, when we come to our chicken coops, we've got our white leghorns with 3 roosters. We've had no new births yet, but if we come across, rather than saying not fertile, as we scroll down these, we've got some that says next animal in and there's nothing. Those birds are going to be producing eggs. That one, for example, next animal in 0.0 years, means that any time now we're going to have a new birth from that bird. This one says next animal in 0.1 years, so that one's going to give us a new bird. That one, it's going to be egg laying because it doesn't say anything of an X animal. So we are now, the animals are fertile. They are going to be producing newborn. And what will happen is when we get new births, they will pop up. And as we scroll down to the bottom, the newborns will appear down the bottom. And all their weights and everything will be slightly different because they are the newborns. I've suddenly realised why my numbers were all out right at the start. It's because when I tested all of this, I ran all of my coops, but stupidly I saved the game, so I sold them all off, but it's still registering that I did own them, and that in the process these are the next set of birds that I've bought. That's why the numbers all started at 105 rather than or whatever it was, 100 and something, rather than 1. If you do this right off the bat, you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 and it'll go up from there. But it does help you to keep a track on how many birds you've got, which number they are, you know. So if you are going to sell birds off, especially if you've got a mixture of Cornish cross, you might decide to buy some, then buy some more. You can keep a track of which are your older ones, which are your newer ones, and that kind of thing. Anyway, so then lastly, we've got our Rhode Island Reds with our roosters in. Again, if we come across, we've got next animal in either nothing, which means they're producing eggs, or it tells you 0.0, 0.1, and we will start getting some new births. So the birds are fattening up. The Cornish cross are fattening up ridiculously fast. We are getting egg laying. Now with these ones, they're on 30 litres. So because you've got a trade-off between the fact they're producing eggs and they're producing young, so the egg laying will drop a little bit. So that won't be as productive as Rhode Island Reds on their own, but you're still getting egg production. So it's a good, a good trade-off. Right, so what we're going to do now, skip ahead again another day. We'll see where we're at with regard to eggs, with regard to reproduction, with regard to the Cornish cross. And like I say, what we've got to look at is the Cornish cross and make sure they don't die. So we've got to wait for them to be mature, then look at what they're going to be worth for selling. And that's kind of the big difference. We've got the egg producing ones and the meat producing ones. If you want to go with hybrids, you get a bit of both. That's entirely up to you. So I will see you again in a moment. Okay, another game day has gone by. We're into midsummer, but in realistic terms of a year, another month has passed. So let's have a look, shall we? Our chicken coop with just our white leghorns in. Egg production has continued. It's at 84 litres now. The birds have gone up a little bit in weight. They're up to £5. They went from 4.7 to 4.9. They're up to £5. So they are actually getting a little bit bigger. Not a rapid progress, but they are getting bigger. Our second coop with our Cornish cross in, which are our meat birds, they're still saying young, 0.2 years, but they're up to £8.1. We went from 0.4 as newborns when we bought them as chicks, up to, was it 5.7 yesterday, or a month ago, to maybe look at it, up to £8.1 now. They haven't reached mature yet, and now I'm nervous about going through another cycle. But we'll give it a go and see where we end up with. Our chicken coop with our Rhode Island Reds only, they're up to £6.9, so they've put more weight on again, and they're up to 70 litres of eggs. So not as prolific egg laying as our white leghorns, but they're still producing eggs. Fantastic. This is where we get a little bit more interesting, because our other two breeds, or the two breeds, our white leghorns and our Rhode Island Reds, which we've got roosters in with, have been producing. We've had 10 new births in the Rhode Island Reds. We've had 9 new births in the white leghorns. So what we'll do, we'll scroll across and have a look down the list. So if we scroll down, we've got all of our main birds that we bought, and then we get down to here, it says £1. So these are our new births. All these ones down here. We've got some at £0, so they're the very, very new births. So we've got age, newborn, weight £1. But they're all newborn, which is fantastic. So they will now start to grow. When they reach a certain point, I think as young, they'll become fertile and they will start to produce. The problem we've got now is because we've gone up another 10 birds, we need another rooster. Because we had enough for 24 birds, we probably need another 2 roosters, because it's 1 rooster per 8 birds. So in each of these coops, we're going to need more. If we look at my white leghorns and we scroll down, the same thing, we've got our 0.0, these are our newborns, and some 1.1 pound ones there. So we have got new births. They are still producing eggs. They're at 75 litres. So it's quite a trade-off. Actually, I do like the Rhode Island Reds for production and meat because they're going up. If you want egg production but you want to increase your flock as well, putting roosters in with Rhode Island Reds, that's a pretty good one. If you want egg production, meat production is still going to be your Cornish cross. That's the way to go for meat production. So again, we will skip forward and see where we are at. I'm worried about my Cornish cross. Hopefully we'll get another cycle out of them, and then we'll be at a point where they will need to sell, because if we go another cycle further, I'm worried they're going to die, and that's what we've got to be very careful of. I know I've mentioned it before, but I need to kind of reiterate that. As you can see, there's no mess on the floor in the pens at all. Haven't had any yet, but then again, I haven't got many birds, so that's probably why. Right, I will see you in late summer. Ladies and gentlemen, disaster has struck, and this was the point I was making. This was my coop that had my Cornish cross in. Not anymore. They all died of old age overnight. Now obviously they don't reach mature. They stay at young because they didn't go through a phase of being a mature bird. I thought I would get another day out of them, and when they reach mature then sell them. Apparently not. So yeah, that's not good, but that's something to bear in mind. I got 2 day cycles out of them, and that's running 3-day seasons, so that's something you'd have to think about scaling up. In essence, look at it as a month. Whatever your thing works out as a month. I got 2 months out of them, didn't get a third. I couldn't get a third month out of them, so I should have sold them when I had the chance. Which brings me on to, well, let's have a look, shall we, on here. My first chicken coop, I'm still at 20 birds. I haven't got any roosters in there. There are 20 birds. That's how they're going to be. They're still producing eggs. We're at 130 litres. That's fantastic. My second coop, with my Cornish cross, nothing in it. They all died overnight. That is something you've got to bear in mind. Our third coop that's got our Rhode Island Reds, again with no roosters in, they're up to 108 litres of eggs. They are still putting on weight. They're putting on weight faster than the white leghorns are, which is great. Then we've got our 2 chicken coops with our roosters in. We've got a Rhode Island Red coop, and we've had even more chicks, and then our coop with our white leghorns with our roosters in. Again, we've had even more births, to the point where my chicken coop with the Rhode Island Reds in is going to need more feed because I've got more birds in there. But what I'm also going to have to do again is increase the amount of roosters to keep that 1-to-8 ratio, to keep that going. So what we're going to do is have a look actually in one of those at selling, at the option of selling now, which, yeah, I mean, the Cornish cross, that's a hell of a blow, but you're going to have to be very careful of that. So if I click on here now, it tells me what I've actually got in there. So if I go across and we scroll down, because of the price for the time of year, I think we bought them for 6, and they're only worth 4 now, the ones that I originally bought, which is fine. But what you've got to bear in mind is if we're having new births, those ones for 11 are the roosters. To ignore those. Don't suddenly think, oh wow, I've got some worth a fortune. Yeah, our newborns aren't worth very much at all, but our newborns are going to replace our old stock. So what we could do is start selling off some of our older birds at £4, euros or dollars, and start recovering some of our initial investment. So in effect, we will reach a point where once we've sold off enough of our older birds and we've got new birds to replace them, we are in effect then getting egg production for nothing. We've recovered our money. Every new birth then we're getting egg production. We are going to need to buy new roosters, of course, to allow for that, but we are then making money. We can do the same thing with the I think the Rhode Island Reds are going to be worth a little bit more. Is that the right one? No. So we look at our Rhode Island Reds, and we can do exactly the same thing here. They're worth 6 because they're meat birds, so they're going to be worth a bit more. They were more to buy in the first place, to be fair. But as we scroll down, we've got our younger ones, which are worth less, so we could do exactly the same thing with these. We could sell off a lot of the old birds, keep the younger birds. They will all gradually grow. They will be producing as well. And then we've replaced our old stock, covered our losses, our costs, and we've made money. in essence, that's it. I can carry on going through cycle after cycle, and my female birds, with rooster or without rooster, I haven't had any die off yet. And like I say, I think they will only die off if you run out of feed, if you don't feed them. But it's the Cornish cross that are the problem. They're the ones you've really got to pay attention to. That's, like I say, sad times. But there you go. That, I mean, that in essence, that's it. Okay, what I've decided to do, in light of the loss of bird that we had, or birds that we had, I've went back to my original save game. I've gone through the process again. So our Cornish cross are here. We're at the point we were when I said you have to be careful, and you do have to be careful. They are sitting at 8.1 pounds, 0.2 years, young. Health is at 89%, which is pretty good. So what we're going to do now is go into this menu, and they're worth 7 at the moment, which when you consider we bought them for 1, that's not a bad increase. So I'm going to sell them all now. And like I say, you think about that logically. If you buy them now, on the left hand side it says 1 there as well. I'm selling mine for 7. I haven't really had to do very much. And also, actually, let's have a look. The amount of feed they've had compared to the other coops, it's the least of all the coops. Now they're supposed to be feed hungry, absolute feed maniacs, but that I haven't found to be the case. That may be slightly different on yours, I don't know. So what we'll do is go across, ping them all over, hit confirm. Now we've only made 142. We only spent 24 buying them all. You scale that up if you're running, let's say, 500 chickens, or if you decide you're going to run a chicken farm on a big scale, and you might place 3 or 4 of the big 500 chicken coops, and you just do meat production, you can make a tidy bit of money. You have a couple of arable fields that you're running wheat and barley in, and all you've got to do is feed them. They fatten up on their own. That's a big profit. You know, like I say, it scales up. There you go. So I thought I'd go back and do that. It wouldn't be right if I kind of left it as who knows situation. I can replace those birds now, put another 20 in, you know, or another 40 or another whatever, fairly inexpensively, and make my money back. I hope you found this useful and informative in some way, shape or form. If you have, give us a like. If you don't subscribe yet, please do. If you want to leave a comment, feel free. And if you want to share this video, then please be my guest, whatever you should choose to do. Thanks for watching.